In the book of Judges, chapter 7. Vamos directamente al libro de Jueces, capítulo 7, y vamos a ver que esta palabra fluye en mucha afinidad con lo que el pastor Basil estaba hablando, y es precisamente la palabra del Señor para nosotros en esta mañana. This is the word of the Lord, evidently for our lives this morning. El capítulo 7. Vamos a los versículos 7 en adelante. Let's just go to verse 7, and we'll go from there very quickly. Just jump over. Saben que, hermanos, lo voy a leer en inglés para beneficio de lo que vamos a hacer en la radio. Y ustedes, por favor, cojan sus Biblias, que yo sé que todos traen Biblias aquí en esta congregación. Así que usted la puede leer. Capítulo 7, versículo 9 al 23. I'm going to read it in English for the sake of time, and our brothers and sisters there will read it in their Spanish version. Judges 7, verse 7 on, 7:7. The Lord said to Gideon, with the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give the Midianites into your hands. Let all the other men go, each to his own place. So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites to their tents, but kept the 300 who took over the provisions and trumpets of the others. Now the camp of Midian lay below him in the valley. During that night the Lord said to Gideon, get up, go down against the camp, because I am going to give it into your hands. If you are afraid to attack, go down to the camp with your servant Purah, and listen to what they are saying. Afterward you will be encouraged to attack the camp. So he and Purah his servant went down to the outposts of the camp. The Midianites, the Amalekites, and all the other eastern peoples had settled in the valley thick as locusts. Their camels could no more be counted than the sand on the seashore. Gideon arrived just as a man was telling a friend his dream. I had a dream, he was saying. A round loaf of barley bread came tumbling into the Midianite camp. It struck the tent with such force that the tent overturned and collapsed. His friend responded, this can be nothing other than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash the Israelite. God has given the Midianites and the whole camp into his hands. When Gideon heard the dream and its interpretation, he worshipped God. He returned to the camp of Israel and called out, get up, the Lord has given the Midianite camp into your hands. Dividing the 300 men into 3 companies, he placed trumpets and empty jars in the hands of all of them with torches inside. Watch me, he told them, follow my lead. When I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all who are with me blow our trumpets, then from all around the camp blow yours and shout for the Lord and for Gideon. Gideon and the 300 men with him, Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch, just after they had changed the guard. They blew their trumpets and broke the jars that were in their hands. The 3 companies blew the trumpets and smashed the jars. Grasping the torches in their their left hands and holding in their right hands the trumpets they were to blow, they shouted, a sword for the Lord and for Gideon. While each man held his position around the camp, all the Midianites ran, crying out as they fled. When the 300 trumpets sounded, the Lord caused the men throughout the camp to turn on each other with their swords. The army fled to Bethsheba toward Zererah, as far as the border of Abel Meholah near Tabath. Let's leave it there for the moment. It's a wonderful word for us this morning. Es una palabra maravillosa para nosotros. Y nosotros sabemos que en la Escritura muchos de estas intervenciones de Dios han sido puestas allí porque Dios quiere enseñarnos cómo Él obra en momentos de prueba. God has recorded in His book all these mighty interventions throughout history and in times of trial of His people, the Israelites, because He wants us to learn spiritual principles that we can use when we find ourselves overwhelmed, outnumbered, in times of persecution, where the enemy seems to be taking over and be so much more numerous than we are, and everything seems to be against us. Those are the times that the Lord loves to show up and do His mighty works on behalf of His people. Al Señor le encanta cuando nos encontramos con más enemigos de los que podemos lidiar, que parece que todo está en contra de nosotros, parece que vamos a ser derrotados, no hay esperanza, no hay forma de salir, estamos rodeados. Esos son los momentos en que Dios le encanta aparecerse y mostrar que Él todavía está presente, que no está dormido. Amén. The church of Jesus Christ needs to know that the way that God acted on behalf of the Israelites throughout history and all in these different texts that we have in Scripture are for us to learn how to harness the power of the Spirit, how to harness the dynamics of the Spirit, to learn principles that we can apply for our own lives. El Señor quiere que nosotros observemos las páginas de la Biblia y que saquemos los principios espirituales que están encerrados en estos textos y que los pongamos en práctica también en situaciones de prueba en nuestras propias vidas. Y yo quiero aplicar específicamente este texto de Gedeón al tiempo que está viviendo la iglesia de Jesucristo en América y en todo el mundo occidental. I'd like to apply this word to the time that is being lived right now by the church, both in America and all the Western world, Europe, Australia, Canada, all these places where industrialization and reason have taken over. And the church finds itself outnumbered. It finds itself in a defensive position. It finds itself sometimes irrelevant. It finds itself having lost many times its reputation. Pastors used to be the most prestigious members of the community in all kinds of polls in America. Today, that is not so any longer. We're there probably with the lawyers and car salesmen. The church has lost so much ground as a result of what is happening to us spiritually. La iglesia hoy en América, en Canadá, en Europa, en Australia, es una iglesia debilitada, es una iglesia que se siente rodeada, ha perdido su reputación, ha perdido relevancia, no es respetada, al contrario, muchas veces vista con antagonismo y en una manera poco popular. Hace años aquí en Estados Unidos, cuando se hacían encuestas de los profesionales de mayor prestigio, siempre los pastores salían en primer lugar. Ya ese no es el hecho. Estamos por ahí con los abogados, con los vendedores de carros y con mucha gente a los cuales la gente le tiene sospecha. Porque la iglesia ha perdido mucho de su poder, ha perdido mucho de su influencia. Undoubtedly, the church of Jesus Christ has lost a lot of its impact, a lot of its clout, particularly in the industrialized Western world. In other places in the two-thirds world, in Africa, Asia, Latin America, there's a huge revival. God is doing mighty things because people are flowing in the dynamics of the Spirit. But here in America, it's extremely different. The situation is one of very similar to what we find in the book of Judges. Israel surrounded, its leaders demoralized, an enemy that is growing increasingly superior, its entire life disrupted and at the mercy of whatever the enemy dictates, rather than being in control, being in peace, able to pursue its agenda proactively. We find ourselves more or less reacting to the crises that the enemy throws our way and simply putting out fires in isolated fashion while the enemy keeps us distracted and keeps us away from God's true agenda, which is to conquer the land, which is to disciple the nation, which is to penetrate society with the leaven and the values and the world, the view of Christianity. En América lo que tenemos más bien es una iglesia que, como en el libro de los jueces, está a la merced del enemigo, rodeada por el enemigo, mucho más numeroso que ella. La agenda de la iglesia está siendo dictada por el enemigo. Satanás echa fuegos por todas partes y nosotros vamos allí como bomberos a apagarlos, y cuando terminamos ese, él prende otro en otro lugar y mantiene a la iglesia distraída para que no prosiga con la agenda proactiva, sistemática, coherente que Dios quiere que ella persiga. Cuando el ángel, when the angel comes to Gideon and approaches him and says, God is with you, oh mighty man of valor, Gideon is so demoralized that he can only think, well, I'm so small, I'm so insignificant. If God is with us, well, why is all this happening to us? I'm nobody, I cannot do anything. I'm the smallest of a small tribe in a small nation that is right now outnumbered. He was a symbol of the demoralized state of God's spiritual people. Cuando el ángel se acerca a Gedeón lo único que puede responder es con una palabra de desmoralización. ¿Quién soy yo? Yo no soy nadie. Y si Dios está con nosotros, ¿por qué nos está pasando todas estas cosas? Yo no puedo hacerlo. Era un símbolo precisamente de lo que pasaba. Y sin embargo, Dios usó a Gedeón, Dios llama a Gedeón. Y